Hi, this is PR Sundar. Welcome to pre-market report sponsored by Delta.exchange and TradeX.live. US futures are slightly higher and there is no negative news from Iran or Israel. This Israel-Iran news seems to have been factored in by the US markets on Friday itself. So that is why, the markets fell so much. The stocks that came out with the bad results fell, but even the broader markets fell, even the technology stocks fell. Asian markets are mostly down because, Asian markets did not factor in this on Friday. So on Friday, Asian markets were higher and European markets were also higher. So that is why now Asian markets are down, European futures are down, but US markets seems to have been factored in. But our case, we fell on Friday not because we have factored in this news, but because of the Mauritius tax treaty and as a consequence, huge selling by FII of nearly 8,000 crores. So therefore, we have to deal with the local issues rather than the global issues. So that is why now the GIFT Nifty indicating another 120, 130 point gap down today. But many times, the GIFT Nifty is not a true indication, but gap down is not ruled out. Why today our markets may not be as bad as what GIFT Nifty is indicating? Okay, number one, the inflation data, consumer price inflation data came on Friday. First time it came below 5%. Although RBI comfort zone is 2% to 6%, the target is 4% plus or minus 2%. So less than 5% is considered to be good. And though inflation is a little bit sticky in US markets, but it is on the way down both in Europe as well as India. So that is actually a good news for banking stocks and auto stocks. So therefore, you may remember on Friday the banks that fell more, the banks may not fall much today because of the consumer price inflation data. Then TCS came out with a good results, not extraordinary result, but it's a good result. But because, the market has been, expecting not so good results from IT stocks, especially after Accenture guidelines. So there may be some kind of a short covering in TCS and that may help other IT stocks. So therefore, IT stocks may not fall much. And crude oil, as I told you yesterday, it did not shoot up much. It is slightly higher. We can say flat with a positive bias. And a firm crude price is always good for Reliance Industries because after all, bread and butter for Reliance Industries is crude oil processing. So therefore, the downside seems to be less even for Reliance. So therefore, there is some kind of a good news for IT, banks, Reliance, which together has more than 60-70% weightage in Nifty. But however, how much this FII selling, this Mauritius tax treaty issue will be affecting our market, so that we do not know. So first major problem is Iran-Israel problem, and last night there was no untoward incidences, and usually people will attack enemy country either early in the morning or maybe just after midnight. So yesterday night passed off peacefully without any retaliation by Israel. US has indicated that it will not support Israel in case Israel retaliates with Iran. But like some analysts say, US just want to keep distancing themselves because they do not want this to be blown out as an international problem. But otherwise, they may not openly supporting Israel, but indirectly they may support Israel. Even if Israel retaliates, the US may condemn this, by words, but they may not do anything by action. So therefore, there is a fear that, Israel may retaliate. Number one. Number two, usually, you cannot retaliate, when your enemy is expecting you to retaliate, right? So, because once this has happened, now the enemy country will be will full preparedness. So, usually what these people do, they will wait for some time and then they will retaliate. The same thing attack also. What happened, Israel killed some of the Iranian people, that was on April 1, but they retaliated only on April 14, April 13th night or 14th morning. So, after 2 weeks. So, therefore, this fear will be there in the stock market. So, therefore, any intraday bounce, the people will like to close their long positions, or even they may be willing to take some short positions. But for few days or 1 or 2 weeks, if it passes without any retaliation, then market will come to a comfortable situation that, okay, so this is one off. There is no much reason for Israel to retaliate, because, the attack by the Iran was not really very successful. So, as per some report, only 6-7 missiles landed in Israel. The rest all been destroyed by the what they call it as Iron Dome and this and that. Okay, so out of 300 missiles and drones, only 6 or 7 managed to land, and that too the damage was not very big. So it will be good if Israel do not retaliate. That will be good for the world markets. But however, even if there is any such problem, let me tell you, for the last 2 years, the war is going on between Russia and Ukraine. But what has happened in the world market? And during this period only, most of the markets hit fresh all-time high. So sometimes, when the news comes, okay, that day it may be a surprise, but after some time, the people used to that, right? So it doesn't make much difference. But Iran is more important than Ukraine, Russia, because, this is a Middle East country, so sensitive to the oil markets. So any big problem in oil markets, so the world market. So you may remember in 1980, it is the same Iran problem. Okay, the crude prices shot up, and then the world economies came into trouble. So I think the many countries, they even did the rationing for petroleum products. So in fact, it is the same guy, Ayatollah Khomeini, right? So therefore, the problem in Middle East will affect the crude prices. Crude prices will affect our markets significantly. So anyway, so as I told you, upside is capped at 23,000, and any intraday bounce is a selling opportunity. And we need to see how the domestic institutions are going to support the market, because FIIs, I'm sure they will continue to sell. But the only thing is how much they are going to sell, that we do not know. So on Friday they have sold for 8,000 crore. So today we have to see how much they are going to sell. TCS and Infosys will be in focus after good results from TCS. Banking stocks will be in focus after a lower CPI inflation. And Reliance will be in focus due to firm crude oil prices. So these things will decide the market direction. Looking at the open interest, 22,700 call option added in huge open interest. And so that will be the logical resistance, but at the same time, traders may not be focusing more on Nifty. So that's because, Nifty expires, weekly expiries on Thursday. The Wednesday is a local public holiday, Indian public holiday, not international public holiday. So now anything like, the Israel retaliation happens, there may be a possibility of a big gap up, gap down. So the traders may focus more on Bank Nifty weekly expiry, which is expiring tomorrow. Right? Looking at the open interest, 49,000 call option has been added in huge quantities. So logically that will be the resistance. So incidentally, last week, on Thursday, I think it closed around 49,000. Now that 49,000 has become a resistance. So it's better to focus on Bank Nifty rather than Nifty. This kind of big gap up and big gap down, let me tell you, it's actually good for intraday sellers, because as and when there is a big gap up or a big gap down, 95% of the action will be over in the first 40-45 minutes. Then after that, the markets may not be making a big move. Even if it makes a big move, that move will be on only one direction, not on the two direction. So therefore, the people who are selling intraday short straddle with a fixed stop loss both the sides, so they tend to make better profit. So I have observed people making more profit when there is a big gap up and big gap down. So big gap up, big gap down, positional players will be in trouble, but intraday players will be happy. If the market open flat, positional traders will be happy, intraday traders will be, maybe coming into trouble. So even if your market move, it will make only one way move after, first 45 minutes. So these intraday players will have a stop loss on that one side. The other side profit will be more. So the intraday players will be coming into trouble only if the market make a two-way move. All right. So overall, it is time to be cautious. Upside is capped at 23,000. So any intraday bounce, one can consider selling 23,000 call option with an appropriate stop loss or with appropriate hedging, like 23,000 call sell, 23,200 call you buy. So that means your maximum loss is 200 rupees. So that is a good strategy right now. So any 80 to 100 points, but I will not be surprised, okay, if there is any intraday bounce, but closing, whether it's going to be closing in positive territory, I'm doubtful. So we cannot say anything because, I always say it's a tug of war between FIIs and DIIs, and then retail people will be short in the crossfiring. So that is how the markets behave. So let us hope what is going to happen. Let us hope that market, do not fall much. At least on a closing basis, if Nifty closes above 22,500, so the bulls must be very, very happy. So hope you enjoyed watching this video. Thank you for watching.